Chapter 6. I turned down Con last Saturday night. It was the first time I ever done that. Given the awkward tension that had lingered between us all week, I was even more grateful to have the rest of the weekend off. Besides, I hadn't had a Saturday night to myself in 3 weeks. And followed by an entire Sunday off? It's been forever. Now I just needed my shift at the Dirty Dog to end already. I looked at the clock 20 minutes ago. I signed, reorganized the rack of vintage concert t shirts for the seventh time. My paycheck was going to take a hit this week because there was a Black Sabbath Heaven and Hell tour t shirt I needed to own. I didn't splurge often, never really, but this shirt was so perfectly ironic because of the lyrics on the back. The part about blinded eyes and stolen dreams sent my thoughts back to Manhattan. The song summed up so much of my former life. Wearing it would be another little rebellion. I checked the time again. 5 o'clock couldn't come fast enough. A slippery tennis ball hit me in the side of the head. What the hell? I grabbed it off the floor and looked around for Huck, but all I saw was Ev rolling her eyes at me. What's your deal, girl? You've been dragging ass all day and staring at the clock. Got a hot date? My breath caught in my chest. A hot date was exactly what I didn't have. I thought about the business card buried in the bottom of my junk drawer. I still wasn't sure why I kept it, but now it was dog-eared from all the times I dug it out only to shove it back in the drawer just as quickly. I hated the indecision Simon's dredged up in me. Earth Charlie. Shit. I hadn't answered her question. No, not a date. I decided against my better judgments to share. Maybe Ev would just kick my ass and I could move on and stop thinking about him. I took a deep breath and added, but there is this guy. Ev rested her elbows on the glass case that served as a checkout counter and steepled her fingers. Tell Ev all about it. So I did. I told her about both times he come to Voodoo, how he asked me out, and how Khan had reacted. So, a hot piece of a man asked you to dinner and you turned him down. Why? Because Khan was having a jealous moment? It wasn't jealousy, really. It was more protectiveness, I think. Call it what you want, but I've always thought you and your fuck buddy thing with Khan was going to end up one of you getting your heart broken. My eyebrows shot up to my hairline. What? No, it's not like that between Khan and me. So just no. Whatever you say. So what's the real reason you're not calling this guy? I cringed because I couldn't tell her the real reason, but I could give her at least part of the truth. Because Simon is Simon Duchessness, current city councilman, son of a former congressman, probably going to run for Congress. She tapped one perfectly manicured nail on the glass. And well, look at me. I gestured to my tattoos. They started at the top of my shoulders and swirled down my arms and sides, stopping at my wrists and hips. I didn't have a chest piece or any on my hands, but still, I was a walking work of art, not exactly prime arm candy material for a politician, even if I could risk the cameras. But it wasn't like I wanted to be or would ever allow myself to be someone's arm candy. I'm not exactly his type. He asked you out, so he thinks you are his type. Besides, that old rule about good girls liking bad boys, it cuts both ways, sugar. He's a good boy, and you're a pretty badass bad girl. She paused. I noticed you didn't say anything about not wanting to take him up on his offer because you weren't attracted to him. I skimmed my hand along the rack of hanging shirts. How could I not be? I mean, the man is gorgeous. I thought I was going to have to find a new pair of panties after he left. Ev shrugged. So take him for a ride. Doesn't mean you have to keep him. You get off and he gets his bad girl fix and no one gets hurt. God damn it. I hate it when you make sense. Then get out there, girl. Go get your booty call. I'll close up. It's been a slow night anyway. So Huck and I went. My hands were sweaty as I sifted through my junk drawer for his card. I can't believe I'm even considering this. If it had just been about scratching an itch, I could have gone to Con. But it was more than that. It was something unique to Simon. He exuded this innate confidence, this I'm strong enough to handle anything you can throw at me vibe. And it drew me in. Finding the crumpled piece of white cardstock, I scanned it for what seemed like the millionth time. I punched his cell number into my prepaid phone and buried a hand in Huck's fur as it rang. I hadn't been this nervous to call a guy since middle school. My stomach churned as it rang a second time, then a third, and a fourth. And then Simon's voice asked me to leave a message. Shit, I didn't know what to say, but for some stupid reason, I didn't hang up. I mumbled something about Charlie from Voodoo wanting to take him up on his offer and rattled off my number. I dropped my phone on the kitchen counter and scrubbed both hands over my face. How very anticlimactic. Huck head-butted my thighs and padded to the door. He was right. It was a gorgeous day, late May evening and perfect for sitting in the garden oasis. I uncorked a bottle of cheap red wine and grabbed a glass. Setting myself up at the Bristol table, I poured a generous serving and cracked open a book I brought down. Huck rolled in the grass, all four long legs in the air. His head arched to the side as he tried to bite his tail. Crazy mutt. I shoved the book aside and dropped him to the ground beside him, scratching his chest and belly as I polished off my first glass of wine. I was lying next to Huck when I heard one of my most favorite sounds of the quarters. Oh, the saxophone, drum and brass band that signaled a wedding parade. Hold on, I gotta highlight this. Okay, because I don't know what that is. It was quiet at first, the beats rumbling through the still evening, and it grew louder and louder. I actually felt giddy when I realized they were coming down my street. I pushed off the ground and ran up to my apartment to get my keys for the gate. Pausing by the table, I splashed more wine in my glass. I wanted to watch like a goddamn tourist. I slipped down the narrow brick walkway that led to the gate with Huck on my heels. I squeezed out, locking him inside. He growled his displeasure, but I was already entranced by the large crowd of wedding guests marching and dancing, down the street towards me. Neighbors and tourists lined the sidewalk, snapping pictures and cheering on the crowd. The bride's parasol bounced in the air, delicate white feathers floating from the edges. The band stopped and broke into a raucous tune. Hold on, y'all. It's another one. Raucous tune. I think that's how it's pronounced. The wedding party and guests grabbed partners and danced with abandon, handkerchiefs flying. The groom swept the bride up in his arm and spun her in a dizzying circles. It was my own secret fantasy, one that I never admit. I swallowed back the regret for what would never be and focused on the happy couple. The groom, he looked familiar, but I couldn't place him. I sipped my wine and tried to recall where I'd seen him before. It hit me as soon as I saw him. Simon. What? He was leading a gray-haired woman in a jaunty waltz in the middle of the street, dressed in a black tux tailored to perfection. Gone were the jeans and a simple t-shirt that he worn the last time I seen him. He looked every inch of a southern gentleman, politician in black tie. Several women in matching seafoam green dresses watched him like he was the last Versace dress in creation designed by Gianni himself. Bridemaids. A surge of jealousy ripped through me to think about Simon as a stereotypical groomsman who would, by the end of the night, undoubtedly have the opportunity to nail one or more of them. I suddenly felt ridiculous. I looked down at the $9 wine in my glass, my wife beater, tight, pale gray skinny jeans, and $2 flip flops. For a split second, I wish I still had some of the wardrobe that would put those bitches to shame. I gave myself a mental shake. No, that's not me, and it'll never be me again. I shouldn't have called him, shouldn't have left that stupid message. I never belonged in his world, and what's more, I didn't want to belong there. I didn't. I turned away from the parade, spirits doused, and struggled to fit my key in the lock. My hand shook, and I kept missing a tiny keyhole. A large tan hand closed over mine. A second hand gripped the bars and trapped me in the circle of his arms. I stared down at the white dress shirt and monogrammed silver cufflinks peeking out from the sleeve of his black jacket. He spoke in my ear, his voice low and gravely. If I keep seeing you, I'm going to take it as a sign. Whew. I swallowed and squeezed my eyes shut. Huck growled, but I reached out a hand and patted his head through the bars. He quieted and laid down against the gate. I turned in Simon's arms, careful to avoid spilling my wine, and stared up at him. At 5'4", I wasn't exactly short, but he dwarfed me, especially when we were this close. He had to be almost a foot taller than me, and with his broad shoulders filling my view, I couldn't see anything but him. Rather than his face, I focused on the black studs in his pristine white tucked shirt and cleared my throat. A sign of what exactly? He released the bars of the gate and tilted my chin up, so I was forced to meet his eyes. I'm not sure. Maybe just my own good luck because I wanted to see you again. He paused before adding, have dinner with me. I forced a humorless laugh. I think you're a little busy right now. The crowd had started to move again, although slowly, but he was going to be left behind if he didn't rejoin the wedding party. He glanced over his shoulder and nodded. Later, after the reception, meet me somewhere. I shook my head. I don't think that's a good idea. Charlie. His words were cut off when someone yelled, Duchess, let's go. I spun and shoved my key into the lock. Simon's heart melted away as he stepped back. I'm guessing, based on the monster dog, this is where you live? I didn't reply. I pulled the gate open and slipped inside. Simon didn't try to stop me as I maneuvered around Huck and shut the gate in his face. From behind the safety of my iron bars, I finally found the courage to look up at him again, his hazel eyes burning into me. I want to see you again, just dinner or drinks, your choice. I think you should go. You're losing your friends. I'll catch up. Just give me your number, please, Charlie. I shook my head. He made me want things I couldn't have. Maybe I'll see you around, Simon. I turned and walked down my narrow corridor back to the safety of my garden oasis. Whew, that's the end of chapter 6. Okay, for a brief minute, I thought that Simon was getting married. So my heart was like, what? How could he ask her for dinner or on a date and he's getting married? This can't be happening and she can't find out this way. Okay, he's just a part of the party, of the wedding party. Okay, and then for her, I understand why she got nervous and you got her feelings when she saw the party and stuff like that, because even though she's tattooed and stuff like that, she come from one of those, pristine, families and stuff like that. So she'll fit in. Okay, so I understand her feelings, but I can't wait for it to get a little bit more juicier. So there were 2 words I don't know the definition of, and I didn't know if I pronounced it right. So stay tuned for the definition video. Be right back. Okay, and I'm back. This is the definition part of the video. Okay, so the first word is spelled Sousaphone, and this is how it's pronounced.
Sousaphone.
I didn't say that.
Sousaphone.
Sousaphone. Oh, I see it now. Sousaphone. Okay, it's a noun, and it's a form of tube with a wide bell pointing forward above the player's head and circular coils resting on the player's left shoulder and right hip, used in a marching band. It makes sense. I just didn't know how to pronounce it. Okay, let's get the second word. The second word is spelled Raucous. Here we go. This is how it sounds.
Raucous.
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 Raucous. I don't think I said that. Okay, so it is an adjective and is making or constituting a disturbing, harsh, and loud noise. You give a example. Yeah, still.
Raucous.
Raucous. Kind of like ruckus. Okay. So yeah. Well, those are the two words, and I like this chapter. This chapter had me feeling, revived. So I'm going to see y'all in the next chapter. See you in chapter 7. Bye.